right, we're in. Cottage Grove, you here? Just wave if you do. All right. Welcome to day 2. I want to give you a heads up. Basically, PowerPoints and past students have, if you don't have the Microsoft Office suite on your computer, then you might not be able to read the PowerPoints as PowerPoints. So I've made them as PDFs, 3 to a slide if you want to print them out or review them. Is that copacetic? The YouTube links are not up yet, but we will get them up. So then you'll be able to see them as well, redo them. Questions from last time? All right. So we'll continue today with how to do the assignments, but first. So as I've talked before, the course is for everybody. There's no prerequisites for it. It's oriented towards what I call civilians, but pros can take it, of course, because it has self-care stuff not usually included, and professional training, because you're supposed to know that self-care stuff anyway, except if you're not suspicious, like I am, if you're not used to questioning society, if you weren't raised to question society, you might just go on like business as usual as a professional. Okay, so you might do 12-step, you might do self-care stuff if you're a 12-stepper, i.e. you've been through alcohol addiction, you're in recovery, so there's a whole framework within that particular milieu that teaches you certain stuff. But for example, then there's the 13th step, which is where you try and enter into a sexual relationship with a newbie, a newcomer, preying on their vulnerabilities. You're not supposed to do that. Within the program, you're supposed to be abstinent from sex if you're not in a relationship for 12 months. Yeah, that'll work. Anyway, more on that later. So, boundaries, self-care, mistake repair. So, on that note, torn from the headlines, City fires Barkovic after his arrest. The prosecutor's refusal to take an alcohol breath test was a factor in his firing. So I don't know if you read newspapers regularly. The city prosecutor, who is the guy that prosecutes drunk drivers, drunk and disorderly, U of O drunken parties, was himself caught drunken driving outside of Valley River Center. Now, you can't make this stuff up. All right? And I'm not bringing this up to say, ha, 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 kind of a schadenfreude. I'm just saying, look, people can make mistakes, and he did. And, when the Eugene cops that saw him said, oh, city prosecutor, they could have said, oh, well, go on your merry way. No, they didn't. They called the state police, and state police said, okay, you need to do a breathalyzer test. No, I won't. Okay, you're a lawyer. You know that driving is a privilege. It is presumed that you will take a breathalyzer test. If you do not, you are presumed guilty. We will suspend your license for a year automatically. That's what happens in this state. Otherwise, you could have said, okay, I'll take a breathalyzer. Oh, wow, I was 0.16? My bad, it didn't feel like that. My bad, okay, I'll do a Dewey class. Right? That's simple. Made a mistake, cop to it immediately, take your medicine, like you've sent other people to medicine. But he did not do that. Now he's out of a job. $27,000 later. Well, they're paying him a severance package, right? Must be nice. But anyway, part of the piece, and the reason I'm bringing this up, he made a very bad decision to drive that evening. I certainly accept responsibility for the decision to do that. He, copped to it, at least after the fact. What people were saying about him, defense attorneys found that he was fair, thoughtful, and reasonable to deal with. He was balanced in his approach. Judges all thought very highly of him. He had a lengthy and much admired track record as a prosecutor. You could point to individual cases where you might disagree with him, but he's very concerned about victims' rights and is especially well thought of by the Eugene Police Department.
One that messes me up.
Which, you know, I mean, in retrospect, that would kind of suck, right? Because, all right, everybody thinks that he was a good guy, and, all right, you wouldn't necessarily know that. Great, it works. Wonderful. Okay, so I got annoyed 20 years ago. Now, I've made no secret of my politics. And this is where I and President Bush the first agree, our one point of agreement. Alcohol is a drug. Okay? Now, his political friends, August Bush the third and fourth, head of Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, etc., do not like people talking about alcohol being a drug. They want you to think of alcohol as a lifestyle choice. Okay? That's why I said, you know, when somebody emailed me their little 10-point comment about, you know, wow, yeah, you were right about that whole thing about big pharma and more people dying from legal drugs than illegal drugs. Well, the piece that goes along with that, and this is why I got annoyed, is because more legal drugs kill more people, and used the way the manufacturers intended. That basically is what I call an induced ignorance addiction. Okay? What that means is you trust people to give you certain information, but they ain't going to give you the whole information because they want to make money off you. Even if it might mean life or death consequences. I believe in giving you information, as much as information as you can handle. Okay? So go back to slide, please. Alcohol is a drug. Drugs come in doses. One dose of alcohol is 12 ounces of regular beer. In regular beer in America, that means 2 to 3% alcohol beer. So Miller Lite, Bud Light have the same alcohol content as regular beer. They are just light in calories. Same amount of alcohol. So you need to understand, light cigarettes will still give you cancer. So you think you're making a healthy choice. No, that's just a marketing gimmick. Okay, so understand that little trick. Side effects, there are no such thing as side effects. Side effects are normal effects of the drug that they can't use to market the drug. That's all it is. All drugs have effects, right? So, 12 ounces of regular beer, 7 ounces of microbrew, which is defined either as malt liquor. So malt liquor is like 6 to 7 to 8% beer. That's the legal designation. Or microbrews, which usually escape that legal definition, but start at between 5 to 12. All right? So therefore, 7 ounces. So if you understand your English measurements, a pint of microbrew contains 2 doses. Now, the reason I bring this up in a college town is people don't necessarily figure, okay, well, I'm just having a picture of beer with my friends. Oh, well, let's just get another, and the picture's quickly gone. Oh, let's get another picture without thinking about, okay, how much am I individually dosing myself with? Right? You don't have to nod if that describes your behavior. I'm just saying, you're taught not to think about that. And that's where the city prosecutor came in. So this information, in terms of policy, so what policy is an agreement by a group of people how we're going to handle a regular recurring problem. The policy in our society is only drug counselors and defense attorneys and cops know this stuff. So I wanted, as part of the Eugene Prevention Coalition, where I was co-chair twice, in the 90s, well, at the college, to have this information on every unit of alcohol that went out. Why would you hide this? Why shouldn't everybody know this?
Making more money.
There is that. Right? There is that, right. So that you don't think about this. And it's a very common trap. I mean, like, you know, we just met Tuesday, so you thought maybe I was paranoid, even though I might be funny. I'm just saying, look, this is the state. If you've never seen this before today, think about why that is. All right, so 12 ounces of regular beer, 7 ounces of microbrew, a shot of hard liquor, so anything 30 proof and above. 4 to 5 ounces of regular wine, 3 to 4 ounces of fortified wine. So, okay, as college students, you're supposed to be upwardly mobile, so you're not supposed to actually like Night Train 2020 or Thunderbird or whatever your tastes. Those are for the winos, or what we used to call winos, right? But you can get those fortified wines, and they've been fortified so the alcohol content is higher than regular wine, or wine coolers, etc. Right, so 4 to 5 ounces of those, about 12 to 19 proof alcohol. Right, so each one of those is 1 dose. Now, next line, many doses in 1 container. The alcohol industry has brainwashed you into thinking that 1 container is a single serving without getting you to think, because you don't think that alcohol is a drug, that there's multiple doses in the container. So they'll just, whatever the container is, that's the single serving. So check it. Boys in the Hood, which is basically, you understand that for product placement, corporations will pay to have their product displayed in a movie. So St. Ides malt liquor. So Ice Cube is down in a couple of 40s. Right? Because St. Ides has basically marketed a 40-ounce malt liquor as a single serving. There are some markets in which they market a half gallon as a single serving. Now remember, this is not underage kids. Right? Because who listens to rap music? It's not adult contemporary, right? And it's not just minority kids, it's white kids. Because they're just interested in the bottom line, right? So for example, many doses in 1 container. So you're conditioned to think of the drink as the container without necessarily thinking that there's multiple doses in a drink. So, for example, your Long Island iced tea, 5 to 6 doses. Your AMF, y'all familiar with AMF? Oh, well, that's a drink you can get. Adios, MF. Yes. Okay, AMFs, Long Island iced tea, multiple doses. And you think you only had 1 drink, right? So one of your previous classmates, about 2 years ago, she basically never got in trouble, decided on her 42nd birthday or whatever, to go drinking. They decided, we're not going to drive, we're just going to walk home, et cetera, and decided to have 4 AMFs. She kind of woke up in jail because she was in a alcohol blackout. Essentially, after the 3rd one, they decided to walk home after midnight. And so she decided to, I thought this is kind of a guy thing, like we kind of pee, mark our territory, pissing contests, arc accuracy. She decided to pee in public. Not usually female thing, right? Springfield police noticed her, said, tried to administer a sobriety test. Cop, reaches out to steady her. She knocks her hand down. Oh, it's on. Boom. On the ground, cuffed. Woke up in jail after she had passed out, wondering, why do I have scrapes on my face? What happened? It was just my birthday. Okay. So, 40-ounce, 2-liter bottle. The reason I mentioned a 2-liter bottle, when I first encountered this phenomenon, because I realized after encountering this phenomenon as a drug counselor like multiple times, wait, people are not stupid. They really aren't. So why are they doing this? So first time I encountered and why I developed this particular chart, this couple in high school, I'll just say that they're both multi-generational children of alcoholics, both parents, both sets of parents, both sets of grandparents, fully fledged alcoholics and practicing alcoholics. They're teenagers, right? So Churchill beat South, so they were going to, have their victory party, et cetera, et cetera. So she's the head cheerleader. He's the captain of the football team. She's the designated driver, driving his, male macho car, the Ray's Toyota pickup with the lights and the roll bar and, big fat tires, et cetera, et cetera. She's a designated driver, which meant real designated driver is you don't drink. Teenage mind designated driver, she drank less. Right? So she crashed the car. No comment on female drivers. They survived, roll cage, they belted up, et cetera, totaled the car. So they got to see me, the groovy drug counselor at Churchill High School, 1986. So I interviewed him. How much did you drink that night? Oh, my usual case. Just like that. My usual case. How much does it take to give you a buzz? Oh, 6-pack. So I showed him the chart I'm about to show you. I go, okay, I'm 35, you're 17, you can drink me under the table. Just marinate on that for a second. So I asked her how much she had to drink. 2 coolers. Wait, something's not adding up. 2 12-ounce California coolers? No, 2 2-liter bottles of California cooler. She'd matched him, dose for dose. Okay. Well, that explains crashing the car. So they thought that was normal behavior. So no, it's not that she's having a blonde moment. She's conditioned to think of 2-liter bottle as a single serving. Just like 64 ounces is a single serving, 40 ounces is a single serving. So this chart in bold, this is based on the ideal body weight. This is where this came from is life insurance. That they notice that people who, when at your a certain height, certain weight, you live longer, blah, 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 blah. That's what makes it ideal. This is where it came from. People can make all kinds of inferences. I'm just saying, look, this is where this came from. Life insurance, I don't necessarily buy it. But this is where it came from. This is why they believe what they believe. It's a life insurance company, right? So, ideal body weight, male chart is on the top, female body chart is on the bottom. Number of doses, because I've already defined what a dose is for you already. Notice the chart only goes up to 10 because it gets kind of ridiculous calculating it after that. He was a 175-pound male who needed a 6-pack to feel a buzz. Notice that 0.15 is double legally drunk, and that my chart can't calculate what a case is, but you can do the math. Let's just say it's 20 and double, how long does it take you to drink a case if a 6-pack is gone in less than half an hour? Right? Because we used to play this game about, the definition of binge drinking used to be 5 doses in a setting for males and 4 doses in a setting for females, and people would say, well, what's a setting? Like, shut up. How long does it take you to drink 5 doses of alcohol if it's a Long Island iced tea? Less than 10 minutes? Stop. Let's just say in a 2-hour period, okay? That's the setting. Don't play cute games. Really. Medical term, binge drinking. Okay, 5 for men, 4 for women. The difference is this. Remember, it's blood alcohol level, so it's amount of blood in the body. Physiological fact, secondary sex characteristics, if you remember your high school biology, they may weigh equal, but he has more blood because he has more muscle mass. Takes more blood to run muscle mass. All right? So, 175, so 100-pound male, 100-pound female, 0.04 one dose, 0.06 at one dose. She is getting drunker faster, less blood. Now, she can compensate by tolerance, as both of them did because they're multi-generational COAs, or children of alcoholics, which means, like I explained the other day, they're inheriting a higher tolerance for alcohol. And this is probably what happened with the prosecutor. He didn't feel drunk. So he figured it was okay. What he should have done, let's do the science. It's a drug. Dose to weight relationship. Know what your ideal body weight is, and then how much you drank in X amount of time, you know how drunk you are. Doesn't matter how you feel, because this is based on the science, actual performance on a test track of people's skill level. It's not about how you feel, because that changes due to tolerance. So, he was there. She, 125-pound female, legally drunk is 2 doses. There's 10 doses, roughly 10 doses in a 2-liter wine cooler, roughly 10 to 13, depending how you do that. So she had 22, 26. Matched him. So, then what to do? So, as an example, so you finding these useful? Intro to addictive behavior, okay? The reason I teach this to civilians, because you don't know what danger is, even if it's happening around you all the time. Okay, there was a piece in New York Times today about Dartmouth and, binge drinking, et cetera, and several, the number of incidents from, like, where an ambulance was called to a fraternity house dropped from 80 in 2011, 2012 to 30. Okay, well, that's an improvement, but seriously? Why not 0? So, progressive intoxication, alcohol, and volatile inhalants. Volatile inhalants are things like, I wish I was making this up. You know the spray to spray your computer keyboard? People huff that. I work with gang members in LA. There was a common thing to, do paint. You'll see paint on Indian reservations, Latinos, some black gangs, some white kids. I knew white kids that, at Churchill that huffed Glade. Yeah, the air freshener. Huffed Glade. Said, oh, it's like a 5-minute acid trip. Okay. Yeah. Gold, silver, and black paint taste better. Okay. All right. Okay. So sniffing glue, all that kind of stuff, right? People who do body work, paint shops and stuff like that, they're not intentionally huffing, but if their gear ain't working, that stuff is going into their bloodstream. It's not good. So here's how those particular substances work. Alcohol works it's essentially an inverted sugar. Basically bacteria, yeast eat the sugar off of grapes or whatever and poop alcohol. And when this happens in solution, it basically kills them at about 19%, 12% if it's like beer. So in order to get stronger alcohol, you have to distill it. So it gets strong. You boil off the water and concentrate the alcohol. All right? So what most people say they're drinking alcohol for social reasons. The symptom that they're trying to get is anxiety relief. Now, anxiety is a form of fear. All right? And let's say you're chill, you're starting it normal, you're in a social, you see a stranger, or you're in a social setting where you don't see everybody, you're a little nervous. That's anxiety, right? So you're trying to calm that anxiety, so you start at anxiety. That's a little heightened above normal. And then to get anxiety relief, you have to go below normal. And so from a dose response, the state that you're looking for with alcohol in terms of social lubrication or disinhibition is 0.02. Now, just like this is coming from the same science that, on a bottle of aspirin or ibuprofen, how do you know how much to take? Printed on the bottle, right? Same science, pharmacology, dose to weight relationship, right? Extra bad headache, take 2. Don't take more than X amount in a 24-hour period. It tells you that, right? Where's that for alcohol? Why can't we put that on alcohol? Disinhibition doesn't mean you'll take your clothes off. What it means is you will talk to strangers. This is why bartenders are informal shrinks. Okay? Well, you won't tell everybody. I mean, maybe, this is before Facebook, before people put their business out on the street, usually disinhibition was where they put their business, and the planet, particularly the NSA, didn't know it. So, disinhibition, social lubrication, which is not a bad state. Okay, you still have your memory, you still have your judgment, you still have all the things you need to function and be safe. Okay, so understanding the brain as kind of like a machine, like a computer. It's operating at a certain efficiency level. Normally, the brain takes 20% of the body's oxygen right off the top to function normally. If that is reduced, if you think of it like the brain like a computer and its operations like software, the least life-threatening functions go first. Because you definitely want to be able to breathe in your sleep and have your heart beat without you thinking about it, right? So that's the last to go. First to go then is, anxiety relief. So disinhibition, next level, initial memory impairment, about 0.03. Now, it's not destroying the memory. It's just impairing access. Now, that sets up the first legal limit, which is for a commercial driver's license, impaired judgment, 0.04. Okay, because you want bus drivers and limo drivers to adhere to certain things, like don't do a California glide through a stop sign. Yellow doesn't mean go faster, etc. Right? So that's why that's legally drunk for commercial driver's license. Impaired coordination, 0.08. That's why it's that. And they're talking about policy-wise lowering the impairment level to 0.05 in line with a lot of European countries. I do not think this is a bad idea, but I'm not in recovery. I have a cold one every now and again. That Ninkasi chocolate stout, yo. Anyway. I only mention Ninkasi because they're on the the Drug Prevention Coalition, because underage drinking and college-age drinking is a concern to them. They're good corporate citizens. I'll give them a shout-out like that. Impaired coordination, 0.08. Now, it's not that legally drunk is set too low. Basically, these are basically found in the laboratory and test tracks around a wide range of folks, and so it doesn't matter how you feel, your reaction times and your judgment time are slowed. Period. End of discussion. How you feel is basically about tolerance, and that's different. And taking a Red Bull doesn't actually improve your performance because it's working on different parts of the brain. So here's where it gets tricky. Somewhere after 0.08, I'm going to give you an incomplete analogy. Have I told you how blackouts work? I'm going to give you an incomplete analogy for illustration purposes. The brain doesn't actually work like a video camera. It does not. Okay? But the video camera analogy is easy. Right? So remember videotape. VHS videotape. Okay? There ain't no record head going to the tape. There's nothing that gets on the tape. Okay? The brain starts cutting the least life-threatening functions first. Okay? So what happens in psychology, my degrees are in psychology, short-term memory, like what gets impaired with pot smoking, short-term memory is today to last week. In order to get into long-term memory, it has to be in short-term memory first. Doesn't get into short-term, no long-term. Okay, so here's what happens. Somewhere after 0.08, this depends on individual tolerance, your genetic tolerance, limits to be found experientially, but definitely somewhere after 0.08, you stop processing memory in real time. The key to finding this out, if you see somebody in this state, is they keep repeating themselves over and over and over and over, which you would never do if you were sober. That'd be lame, right? But if you see people doing that, they're in a blackout. They didn't remember what they just did. This is why it's ridiculous, as a drug counselor. We see people in crisis, we see people under the influence, but it's a waste of time dealing with drunk people because it's not even in one ear and out the other. It goes in and it just disappears. And you have to keep repeating it over and over and over. No, you just need to go, sleep it off. Talk to me after tomorrow with your headache. Don't do the hair of the dog, okay? So it doesn't get into short-term memory, doesn't get into long-term memory. So here's what happens. You get drunk at a party, you stop processing at the party, whatever happens at the party, you remember how to get home. That's in long-term. The party's gone, but how to get home is in long-term memory. So that's what happens with that, basically. So the initial memory impairment starts at about 0.03, where you start having what we call a blackout. This happens sometime after 0.08. There are intermediate stages we'll call brownout, where you kind of remember flashes a little bit, but not all. There are drugs, there are date rape drugs like roofies that can accelerate this. There are other drugs that also do complete retrograde amnesia, where you basically forget everything. All that. So impaired coordination. After that, impaired speech. Also after 0.08. Hypnosis, where you're just kind of staring off into space. Like that. Definitely you can have blackouts at that point. Clinical anesthesia. What that means is the phrase, he felt no pain, that's literally true. The brain stops processing pain signal. You couple this with no memory in real time, that also means no brakes on your behavior. People often become combative at this point. Over nothing. Fly into rages. Over nothing. Or nothing that you can, all of a sudden something reminds them of something and they go off. And, cops come, hit them over the head with nightsticks. They just don't seem to feel it because literally there is no pain signal being generated. Stop. This is actually where, they used to get people drunk back in the Civil War or World War I or II days when they didn't have morphine, get somebody drunk and you can saw their leg off. Not making that up. Historical fact. At least it's apocryphal, but whatever. He felt no pain. People, and doing crisis work, seeing people get combative at this stage or other stages. Incontinence. Understand your potty training is a software-hardware configuration. Okay? Where you ain't gonna pee in your bed, you pee in your bed, right? Even if you're asleep. But what happens if you get drunk enough, and you will see this, you'll lose your potty training. See this often in with some homeless people, right? Shit their pants, getting shit-faced. That's why that phrase, right? Pissy drunk. You ever wonder where these... Okay, that's where, there's a medical fact. Why this is happening, right? So a lot of people think this is funny. That's because there's no medical training. This is just above. This is a really dangerous state, especially if it's in a fraternity or sorority situation, because it's just above coma. Coma is where your brain is still breathing for you and still beating your heart. That's it. We still have a high school completion program here, so one of my earliest encounters, especially when, to illustrate this, so I'm full of stories, right? 40 years, you see a lot of stuff. Okay, so the 17-year-old comes in, and he was at a kegger in the woods somewhere out towards Pleasant Hill or something like that, and it was some microbrew. I think it was Hammerhead from McNemin's, right? Not casting fingers. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a kegger with microbrew. He lost count at 6 pint cups. 6 or 7. Okay? Woke up 3 days later. So think about the circumstances in which you could go to sleep for 3 days in the woods and not wake up within 8 hours. Think of that. How's that even possible? He wakes up 3 days later and there's a fire in front of him, little fireplace, and there's this homeless dude. Huh? Where am I? Oh, you're with that kegger 3 nights ago. What? Wait, my friends left me? Who are you? Well, they left you, and I just covered you with a blanket, made a fire, and just decided to stay because they left you. Decided to just let you sleep it off. Like, what's the homeless guy going to do? Call 911 without a cell phone? I mean, it's kind of whack that his friends left him, but again, this is why I said the other day, okay, the decision to binge drink and lose control means you have to trust people that may not be trustworthy. Like strangers, you leave your hands and your safety in the hands of strangers? Maybe that's a Eugene thing. I'm from LA. I don't trust people. But, okay? So, 17-year-old drank himself into a coma. And, his affect, that is the way he acted, kind of, there was something missing. He left something there. A little slow, right? Because coma. What are people like when they're in a coma? And come out of it. So, coma. Then breathing. Then heart rate. No breathing, you turn blue. So I'm describing real events here in Eugene. At a party, somebody's lips are blue, CPR immediately. Their lips are blue, they've stopped breathing long enough for that to happen. Okay? 5 minutes of no breathing, no heart rate. They're coded, essentially. You can bring them back, maybe, depending on what else is there. And then death. All right, I need you to get this right in case it appears on a midterm. LD50 lethal dose for 50% of whatever you tested it on. Okay? These are usually calculated for naive users. Naive not meaning they trust people, but naive meaning they have no drug tolerance, because there's no way of measuring drug tolerance without taking the drug. And it's variable. Because you don't know somebody's genetic history. We ain't got the tech to be able to figure that out yet. Okay? LD50, 20.21, a 100-pound middle school girl who drank 3 buds and a shot of vodka, 4 doses, coded her. They brought her back, Sacred Heart, because this is just in the South Hills. Okay? Skip school, skip middle school up there, and 40th and Donald, that identifies the middle school, obviously. So, parents were at home, doctor and lawyer, whatever, doesn't matter. Parents were at home. How are the kids doing a shoulder tap to get a case of beer and a bottle of vodka from somebody downtown? Which is what they did. Brought the stuff back on the bus. They're having their little party. She passes out. They call 911. She coded on the way. They brought her back. Okay? Otherwise, if they'd left her, dead. 0.21. 100-pound middle school girl. And that's what the ER said her blood alcohol level was. 0.35. College student. Okay? Fraternity initiation. Regularly, we lose college students at about 0.35, basically when they die with that and they publish the blood alcohol level, it's in that range, 0.35. Okay, so a little bigger person, male, 18 years old or whatever, 175 pounds, right? So the LD50 for alcohol is between 0.45 and 0.50. That's usually what's given as the LD50 for a naive adult. I should let you know, for illustration, the cops regularly pull over drunk drivers who blow 0.55. In other words, a naive user would have been dead, long dead. These people are up and awake and driving automobiles. So the answer is the question that you're thinking but not voicing. How is that possible? Tolerance. Okay? The teenage couple from Churchill, the football player, they probably did 0.55. They were probably at that level. Both of them. Everybody else would be dead. They're still awake. So, that's how I'm saying, hey, the prosecutor he probably felt fine. I mean, obviously, but probably felt fine and felt he was okay. So I'm just saying, look, if we had told you this, that would go a long way to preventing predictable problems. So that's why I wanted to spend time on it. Usually I don't wait. I wait till week 2 or 3 to do this, but I felt, okay, I'm the press. This made ink. Y'all need to know about this because I'm telling you up front. So there was another piece. So this is an emailed question. So basically what I said about Native Americans. So in terms of federal law before 1952, forbade Native Americans from drinking alcohol. Now the reason that we have the stereotype about drunken Indians, and not only was it illegal for them to drink alcohol before 1952, before 1978 it was illegal for them to practice their native religion. 2. All right, so Bureau of Indian Affairs agents, part of the Department of the Interior, formerly under the War Department, allowed the illegal importation of hard liquor onto reservations, with kickbacks, naturally, is essentially a form of social control, as an addicted population is a controlled population. Any native or religious or political leader who opposed this alcohol trade was arrested, committed, or killed by the government. So even today, while most reservations do not allow alcohol, alcohol is available just off of reservations. It's a big problem. So, addictive behaviors to watch out for. So, you seem so familiar to me. So, this is an introduction to addictive behaviors. Why is that? So, why addictions exist? So, as an experimental research project, look at how aspartame started out as an insecticide and became a sweetener. Thanks, Dick Cheney. Yeah, it's an insecticide. That's its first use. The idea is to attract insects or pests because it has a sweet smell, sweet taste. They eat it, they croak. Now, you're much bigger than an insect. What does it do to you? So, there's a word which I actually looked up for you because I figured, excitotoxin, and you might want to do further research on it. Aspartame is an excitotoxin, but it's not the only one. Okay? Some addictions are induced as part of maintaining profitability. So, for example, this is the American Nutrition Association reviewing a book, Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills. So, for example, MSG, glutamate. Glutamate actually is a chemical that your brain makes as a neurotransmitter. But when you apply it to food, it suddenly makes food taste better. Well, it's toxic in amounts that are outside of what your body makes when it's added to it. So, for example, things that can always contain MSG, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrolyzed plant protein extract, sodium caseinate, calcium caseinate, yeast extract, textured protein, autolyzed yeast, hydrolyzed oat flour, frequently containing MSG, malt extract, malt flavoring, bouillon broth, stock flavoring, natural flavoring, when they say that, you see that in the label, natural beef or chicken flavoring, seasoning, spices, carrageenan enzymes, soy protein concentrate, soy protein isolate whey, protein concentrate. You see these on a food label. It is suspected that they might contain this excitotoxin. Now, the effect, long-term effects. So, if they've made the GRAS list, grass means generally recognized as safe if there's any regulation about them at all. Then that simply means they won't kill you immediately. And they can use them. Buyer beware. Okay, addictions exist because the brain is a pattern making and pattern recognizing device. Culture is the collection of patterns necessary for survival. All right, so a lot of behaviors that are addictive, so many addictions, for example, are the adaptations of patterns necessary for survival. So they didn't start out bad. And in fact, in their home culture where they were generated, particularly certain drug substances used the way they were either discovered, those patterns are not addictive, like I'll show you shortly. Okay, so for example, prayer, but generally speaking, people don't think prayer is a bad thing for the relationship to the rest of the universe, spiritual or whatever. There are definitely times when religion is addictive, an addictive process. There's a few examples of that. Sure, I'm Jesus, that's why I need your wife and an arsenal. Oh, the aliens are coming, let's kill ourselves to join them in the comet. Oh, let's do sex education with our children, with using real sex. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Wish I was making it up. Okay, so it's not necessarily an addictive process, but certain forms of religion and spirituality are addictive processes. Following example is of a non-addictive drug use pattern of an addictive drug in its culture of origin. So, non-addictive use of the drug, it is addictive, right? So among the Lakota, white buffalo calf woman brought to them the use of the sacred pipe. The symbology is the bowl is female, the stem is male, you unite them, fire is one of the elements, you inhale the smoke but not into your lungs. It's a prayer. You blow prayer to the four directions. You don't inhale. Okay? Only adults, only for prayer, period. You ain't praying every 5 minutes. Only for prayer, period. No addiction, no cancer in its culture of origin. So tobacco was actually one of the names for the herb, not necessarily pipe, but one of 800 natural plants natives use for prayer and healing, of which 80 are still in use today as part of our pharmacology, including things like petroleum jelly, digitalis, white willow bark, or i.e. salicylic acid. All right, so use as intended in the original culture. Tobacco is only for prayer, not inhaled, therefore non-addictive and non-cancer producing. So once or twice a day, not several times an hour, though certainly if you do smoke Marlboros or whatever, you do get closer to God with every puff. Okay? Same thing with the little smoke, also known by its Spanish name marijuana. Among the Lakota, used only by medicine people to seek vision for others, not for personal entertainment. Okay, so strictly limited. That's culturally bound. Not all natives did that, but it was known as the little smoke. The use on this continent is easily 10,000 years old, predating Western civilization, and planet-wide is known. Ancient Russians, Greeks, Chinese Emperor Shen Nung, 2737 BC, called marijuana the liberator of sin because it made you feel less guilty. And he prescribed it for female problems berry, and absent-mindedness. Yeah, really? Weed for absent-mindedness? Okay. I have a bridge in Brooklyn. I'll sell it to you. So, addictive substances and processes are big business. So if it makes you feel good, it's potentially addictive. So things that make you feel good are big business. And because they are big business, they're hard to get rid of on a macro level. So in America, we take one particular approach. In England, they take another. So I was in England a couple of years ago. Smoking is highly addictive, don't start. That's on the pack of American cigarettes. English cigarettes, too. Smoking kills. That's in pounds, of course. 585 pounds, yes.
Those are real pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was there, in London.
Say that on the pack.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Says that on the pack, in London.
Wow, 6 pounds.
Yeah, 6
So
pounds.
is Marlboro making the packs look like that, or are they?
No, this is the local laws packaging in England. It's American cigarettes, but, so you understand, like when I said, okay, that alcohol dose chart, I think should be on every bottle. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, even if the city of Eugene or our county prevention coalition wanted to pass an ordinance where it's called preemption, we can't. It takes an act of Congress to do that. And so look at the labeling of what's on alcohol bottle, right? Oh, it may harm you in pregnancy, cancer, blah, 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 but that's it. Calories. But not, this contains this many doses of alcohol. If you consume it, you will be beyond legally drunk, or whatever.
It also doesn't give a list of ingredients.
Hello. Right. Okay? Organic wine. Oh, organic beer. Look, it's a metabolic poison. The first breakdown product of alcohol in your body is worse than the alcohol. It's like drinking formaldehyde, like the stuff that, you remember the frogs in biology? Same stuff. Well, a couple of hydrogen groups away, but same thing. Right? So, smoking kills. So, American cigarettes being sold in England with, these warnings that are stronger than what you would see in America. Smoking reduces the blood flow and causes impotence. Wonder who that's targeted at. Protect children, don't make them breathe your smoke. Yeah, the impotent one, the flaccid cigarette, just in case you didn't get the point, right? Smoking seriously harms you and others around you. So we get into assignments. So, as I said, my preference is to receive assignments directly through email, not so much Moodle. So your mission, should you decide to accept it, is not impossible. So I'm talking about the social recon assessment. So social recon is basically to assess the policy environment. Okay, so policies are basically an agreement about how we handle a problem or not handle a problem. So sometimes it's not just about the written laws, it's about their effects that you can observe out in society. Everything that you see out in society is a result of a policy somewhere. Okay, so the stated and unstated agreement on how we deal with a problem or situation. So why am I having civilians look at the policy environment? Well, you'll see. For my social recon, this is from a social recon. I chose to accompany a friend who we'll call Betty to a bar for Thirsty Thursdays. Betty has been a problem drinker since I met her. On this Thursday, we set out for just one beer and to meet up with a girlfriend of ours who we had not seen in a while. We both order the Thursday special, a 24-ounce Bud Light draft. How many doses is in that? Two. Okay? On a female, right? Ladies' night, happy hour, Thursday. Okay? Policy environment allows that. Targeted marketing. Until midnight, they offer a $3 drink menu. I see a lot of neon beer signs, Drop Top, Sierra Nevada, Budweiser, Fat Tire, more advertising beers which are served there. There's one advertisement that is hanging on every wall. The nightly drink special is a large sign which demands your attention. Monday night is free beer night with the purchase of a dinner entree. Tuesday is burger and brew. Burger, fries, and a beer for only $7. Wednesday is M3 night, your choice of margarita, Mai Tai, or microbrew for $2.50. And we already know what the Thursday sign is, Eugene's Thursday night social party tradition. Time plus Jaeger bombs from the Buy the Ladies a Drink guys. So now Betty, who set out for one beer, has consumed 3 24-ounce Bud Lights and a Jaeger bomb. At this point, it's only 8:30. We've been at the bar for a little over 2 hours. Betty's binge drunk. She's slurring her speech, her tone is elevated, and she's become somewhat confrontational. She's not able to follow the conversation and is repeating herself constantly. Betty's in a blackout. She finishes up her 4th 24-ounce, and I give her a head nod that it's time to go. She has to work in the morning, and I need to get out of there. It's really not a lot of fun being around drunk people when you're sober. As Betty and I say our goodbyes and head for the door, she is rambling on about how happy she is that the last 2 weeks she only drank twice, now 3 times. She's yammering on about how I should be proud of her and how good she is doing. I mentioned it'd be cool if she'd gone the 2 weeks with no drinking at all. She agrees, but she won't remember that conversation. All right, so social recon, 30 points. 1 to 2 page, single space, 12-point font typed paper. So the idea is you go out into society, record what is there with an eye to assess the public health involved environment. It's the basic observation technique for a prevention guerrilla. So, prevention guerrilla fights health terrorism, that is, scare tactics, with knowledge and facilitating self-discovery in the targets, that's you, of addiction. So here's how you're making yourself strong as civilians and becoming an informal prevention guerrilla in my private prevention army. Budweiser's the enemy. Okay, so we're trying to get people to drink less, or at least, see, responsible drinking, the way the drug dealers say that, and by that I mean Budweiser. Notice they don't tie a specific blood alcohol level or a specific dose or a specific drink amount to responsible drinking. Notice that. Yeah, just like saying moderation without defining a precise dosage, like the science. Numbers. All right. So, for example, alcohol and tobacco are marketed using the 4 Ps, product, place, price, promotion. This marketing strategy produces health effects in the community. So, as an example, the classic social recon. You go into a 7-Eleven, a Dairy Mart, Price Chopper, whatever, around your house, in your community. What do you see? What catches your eye? Now, you may or may not know that you go into a supermarket, the company, they don't just offer everything that's available. Companies pay for shelf space. And if you ain't got the money to pay for shelf space, your stuff ain't out there. Period. an extreme example of this is one of my favorite markets, Trader Joe's. If you're like, Kesey's Creamery, you don't sell to just the Trader Joe's in Eugene. You sell to the Trader Joe's on the planet, across the country. Because their thing is uniformity. Price Chopper, same thing. You have the money to pay for the shelf space, you're there. Right? Dairy Mart, 7-Eleven, same thing. You're paying for shelf space. So that's one thing to know. Product, how does the product even get there? Place, where it is. Where does it catch your eye? Promotion. So how those 4 P's play out, and a typical social recon, so I'm just throwing this out as examples. How much is water as compared to, say, high octane beer? Is water more expensive than beer? Is water more expensive? Is beer the same as Pepsi? Look at the price. Product, price promotion. Where do they put the skin magazines? Where do they put the cigarettes? Are they carding? Are they doing single sale cigarettes? These are all environmental indicators to things that are going on. Those of you who worship the tobacco god, do you buy singles? No. You can't. Well, there's some places that do, but notice who does that, right? So the answer part of the question, when people ask, well, how do I do this? Okay, this is the instructions. There's a range of things you can do. So, 7-Eleven or Dairy Mart, examine what the environment around the store, what products are visibly advertised from the outside, what price they are, cigarettes sold in singles, or buyers being carded, porn magazines visible to kids. See how those 4 P's might work in a restaurant, a bar, a festival, a frat bar, or a sorority party. Social recon can happen in all those places. Could involve answering, how did somebody who is panhandling get to where they are? There is an environment, there are social policies that are creating homeless people. People who had jobs, people who had houses, people who had all that stuff on the street through no fault of their own, without addiction. And then there is addiction too, but. So if you're going to do this, I suggest that you select your own level of safety in terms of comfort and all that kind of stuff. How does someone who has no home, no health insurance, take care of basic hygiene? Who do you ask? The person, social service agency, police, etc. You pick. How does the needle exchange program work to reduce addiction? I'm basically giving you examples of social recons people have done. Right, because some people initially thought, oh, well, they're just passing out free needles, they're just increasing addiction. Actually, the data says no, they're not. How are illegal drugs promoted? In similar ways to legal drugs. Okay, with no advertising. There's still brand loyalty. Oh, I really like this silver, the Maui Triple Plus. Okay, go out and record what you see, 1 to 2 pages. That's it, really. No tricks. Lots of different ways you can do it. And the reason I'm having you do that is if this is the first time that you've had to do this, it's an eye-opener. It really is. But that's only the beginning. All right, so write a social recon on not only what your objective, that is what happened experience was, but what your internal subjective, what you felt experience was. Okay, follow the instructions is the only instructions. Whatever you do will work. Okay, so it's open. People are uncomfortable with that ambiguity. Be creative. It's okay if you be safe and just do the Dairy Mart and 7-Eleven. It's all right.
When is this due?
Let's see, what do we say? Week 2? Thursday, week 2. Okay. Social recon shows you how the policy environment in which you exist. It's like a goldfish learning about water quality. Unlike a goldfish, you have some choice about what you take in. So, as a policy change, the English Medical Society recently suggested banning all alcohol advertising in country to reduce alcohol problems. Soon after I took those pictures. Think of what the United States would look like with no advertising of alcohol and tobacco products. 0 advertising. Okay, there are actually countries where that actually was the case. Like Sweden, until they sold their Absolute vodka, Swedish, right? So this year they just sold it, but it was the alcohol policy in Sweden was government monopoly. Government shops, copy. Government shops with no advertising in country. Legally drunk is 0.04. First offense for driving while drunk, lose your license for 6 months. Can't buy alcohol outside of a restaurant after a certain time in the evening, early, and can't buy it on weekends. No advertising in country. So those Absolute vodka ads, that's the other side of the government which did export. So the English Medical Society suggesting no alcohol advertising to reduce alcohol problems, wasn't a bad idea. In Russia, for example, alcohol causes 50% of all deaths. So per capita consumption is 5 gallons a year, mostly vodka. College students in the United States drink, for beer alone, college students drink enough beer to give every college and university in the United States an Olympic-sized swimming pool full of beer. That's like 3.5 gallons per college student. So if you didn't drink your 3.5 gallons this last month, somebody is, on average. Right? So social recon gives you a picture of the policy environment, which gives you an idea of what the laws are and the unwritten laws. In other words, the policy, the agreement on how we're going to handle or not handle a problem. So food mood diary, due end of week 4, start at week 3. Basically, 1 week, track everything you put in your mouth. Means gum, cigarettes, chew, candy, cinnamon, toothpicks, whatever. Notice your mood before you eat, not just you're hungry, tired, tense, angry, sad, but also notice the mood that the food puts you in. Do you eat salty stuff when you're angry? Sugary stuff when you're depressed? In particular, pay attention to how much of the food is alive when you eat it, like raw fruits or vegetables. I don't care about the squirrels, whatever. No roadkill. How much water you drink, if you drink water. What other liquids you drink, soda, coffee, tea, how much and what's in them. Snacks and junk food, if you do them. Include a total daily nutritional analysis, how much calories, carbs, sodium, etc. And if you patronize fast food, how many places have nutritional analysis of their servings. How I spent my week. You can read Your Money or Your Life. Thanks. How I spent my week diary. On a daily basis for 1 week, track every penny, including bills, books, snacks, gas, lottery tickets, groceries, medical bills. Put all the change in your pocket or purse at the end of the day in a jar, bowl, or plastic bag. Purpose is to first simply note where your money goes. Yeah, money talks, but mine only knows how to say goodbye. Things that make me go, start week 7, do end of week 8. The part, what have you discovered from the class, and give it up. Give up one addictive behavior: sugar, salt, tobacco, alcohol, weed, television, gambling, internet for a week. And if you, quote, don't have any addictive behaviors, go on a 90% raw food diet for a week. Salad, whole fruits, nuts, sushi. The other 10% can be cooked grains, no condiments other than salad dressing, oil, vinegar, Bragg's, tamari, or soy sauce, even though that has MSG. Just try that. Okay, so the idea is to identify your vulnerabilities and develop your strengths using the things you can control: your breath, food, sexuality, well-being, money, food for thought, relations with others, etc. Yes, no questions? Soon they'll start the music for going out and the credit roll. And we'll start here. So, roll music, we're out. Hi. Hi, Asia. Okay. Like the continent or the Steely Dan song?
Online.